Today we tested a couple of things to do with golf balls, which we kind of already knew, but we wanted to test it out and prove it, so that we could actually present something which was a bit more meaningful to golfers. So the hypothesis behind this test was that actually a lot of golfers are being asked to buy a tour ball, whether it be a Pro V1 or a TaylorMade TP5X, whatever it is. And these balls are really made for tour players, and so if you actually do a sort of independent compression test on these balls, they're really hard. You know, they're sort of 110 compression upwards. Most of them are around 115 compression. So if you're Dustin Johnson, you can compress that ball and you will get a benefit from that, and that's the right compression ball for somebody like that to play. If you're a normal person or a normal golfer, that is definitely 100% not the ball to play. And we'll talk you through some of the results from the testing that we did today. So essentially what we did is we took a tour ball, Pro V1X. We did a baseline test with that. So myself, I average around 160 to 165 miles an hour with the driver. I used myself as one of the testers, and the other one is one of our friends who works here, who his ball speed on average with his driver with a Pro V1 is about 135 miles an hour. So much more. You know, he's the person that, you know, with the right setup, the right equipment, the right ball, can hit it 250. With the wrong ball, the right setup and the wrong ball, you'll see that gets it a bit shorter. But anyway, so we did a baseline with the Pro V1X. And then we decided to use these new TaylorMade balls, which I thought were quite interesting. So you've got the tour response. The tour response is essentially, you know, it's the same construction as a tour ball. So it's a urethane cover, but it's a much lower compression. It's sort of 40 to 45 compression. So really, you know, significantly lower than Pro V1s or TP5X or anything like that. The other ball that TaylorMade brought out, which is a much cheaper ball, which is also an interesting story at the moment, given the fact that Titleist have just launched their direct-to-consumer ball, but only done it with a Surlyn cover. And this is the soft response, which is a Surlyn cover as opposed to a urethane cover. Surlyn balls are nowhere near as good when it comes to the way they would play around the greens, really. Anyone that plays a Surlyn covered ball has to accept they're basically not going to be able to stop it on a green with their short irons. It's dramatic, the difference. So a Surlyn ball is basically completely inferior to a urethane ball. So, but they are a lot cheaper. So these are, I think, about 22 quid a dozen, and these are about 33 quid a dozen. And the tour response, the urethane one, is a brilliant value ball. This ball, there is no way that this ball costs them less to make than a TP ball, so the TP5 or the TP3 or whatever it is now. But they're selling it cheaper, which I think is a bit of a reaction to the sort of direct consumer story and all of that stuff. So moving into the numbers, these will be coming up on the screen, but we'll start with myself. So with my driver, there is really not very much in it. So if we look at ball speed, I got 164 on average over 10 shots. So we hit 10 shots with each club and each ball. Driver, 6 iron and sand wedge. So with driver, I was 164 with the Pro V1X and I averaged 296 in total distance. With the tour response, which is the soft urethane TaylorMade ball, 165 and I averaged 299. There's nothing to read into that at all, even though it's gone 3 yards further. That is, across 10 shots, I could have hit more good ones. I mean, we're getting rid of the miss hits, but I could have hit just a couple more good ones where I got the most out of it. And the soft response, I go down to 163 and my average distance is 230. So the moral of the story for me, at pretty high ball speed, so at 160, my average ball speed, let's say, is 165. I would be below average, way below average on tour. I mean, I'd be one of the lowest ball speeds on tour. So, but it's a reasonable ball speed. So the moral of the story is I would definitely be giving up a little bit of performance if I played the Surlyn really soft ball. There's no surprise there. But even at as low a compression as the tour response, so around 40. I actually wouldn't particularly give anything up. I wouldn't give any performance up with my driver. And if I really preferred the feel around the greens with a softer ball, this would be a totally relevant ball for me to use. With my 6 iron, it's quite interesting because actually I get a higher ball speed with both of the softer balls, so I go from 126 to 130. But the spin rate with the softer tour response ball comes down from an average of 5,300 RPMs to 4,800. And as a result, the distance goes up because it's a lower spin rate. With the irons, that's, that would give me a bit more distance. But the question there, and the only big takeaway really with a mid iron for me at my ball speed is, sub 5,000, I'm probably giving up a little bit of control, giving up a little bit of my ability to shape the ball. I know people buy all these distance irons as if they like it's a big deal to hit their irons further, but I just don't buy that. I think I would, if I was to choose the spin rate I was going to get my 6-iron out there at, it would be over 5,000 RPMs. But by no means is it a disaster with the tour response. And then with the wedges, the only thing to look at with the wedges is the spin really, and the way they feel. I actually get about the same spin with the tour response, maybe a little bit more, so sort of 9,900, whereas I had 9,300 with the Pro V1X. That spread could be, it really could be just the difference in the shots I hit in that set. We're trying to be really consistent, but it could just be that difference. So the thing is, for me, the reality of the situation is the biggest factor when it came to me choosing a ball, even at my ball speed, nice one Gus, would be the way the ball feels, because actually from a sort of distance and spin perspective, the difference is pretty marginal. I get lower spin on the 6-iron with the tour response, with the softer urethane ball, but actually it's pretty stable. With the Surland ball, believe it or not, I get over 3,000 RPMs less spin on a wedge, and that would be significant. In the winter it would make a lot of difference, obviously, but in the summer, if I was playing a links course with hard greens, I would be really struggling to get the ball to stop. So, and that would be, if I played a Surland ball in the summer, I probably would be giving up 4 or 5 shots around, which I definitely couldn't afford to do. I don't care about score that much. Then the most interesting bit of this test is for James Bowker. He's the lower ball speed player. So I'll blast through his results. You'll see them coming up on the screen. But when he goes to the tour res ball, so the soft urethane ball, he picks up 3 miles an hour with his driver. And believe it or not, because it actually spins less for him, and that's because he's actually starting to compress the ball, which he doesn't with the Pro V1. So spin comes down from 2,900 to 2,200, and his launch comes down a little bit as well. So wait for it, his in total distance, James at 135 average ball speed picks up 24 yards. 24 yards, that's right. So he picks up 24 yards with his driver. And with the soft response, he kind of, similar to me really, loses a little bit of ball speed, but still, even with the soft response, so the Surland ball with the driver, he's miles better off than he is with the Pro V1. And Pro V1 or any other tour ball is being marketed at players like average golfers, and these type of speeds is what I would consider average. So it is these tour balls are terrible for the average golfer. With the 6-iron, this is where it gets really a bit more exciting. He actually gets 104 ball speed with the Pro V1X, he gets 109 with the tour response, so urethane soft ball tour response. But again, his spin rate comes down, so his spin rate comes down to 5,000 from 5,800, and he picks up nearly 20 yards. He picks up 16 yards on his 6-iron distance, so he goes from 148 carry to 164 carry. As we go into the pitch shots with James, not that much difference with the Surland with the 6-iron. His speed actually comes down a bit with the Surland ball for whatever reason. With his sand wedge when he's pitching, he gets a little bit less spin with the soft tour response urethane ball, so 8,500 to 7,700 wouldn't hurt him that much. But with the Surland ball, he literally couldn't hold a green with a wedge. 4,500 average spin, so about a similar spin with the Surland ball to what he gets with the 6-iron. So the interesting thing about that is that when you get into the shorter clubs, it's all about the cover on the ball. You're not really compressing the ball at those speeds. So we were hitting wedges at about 70 to 75 miles an hour ball speed. You're not compressing the ball at that speed. So it's all about the cover. And that's why the Serling ball just doesn't perform, because the cover just isn't conducive to that. The most interesting thing about what we found out today is that when people talk about equipment regulation, the reality of the situation is if the governing bodies put a compression limit on the ball, the top pros, just about all of the pros on tour, would lose a little bit of ball speed. But the average guy who went out and bought that ball, as you know, from every bit of advertising, which you play what the pros play or whatever it is, would actually pick up a little distance and would be better off. So this idea of developing equipment for tour players and then asking average players to use it is pretty flawed. I mean, I think people are starting to realise that now, but the reality of the situation is, you know, if you're a mere mortal golfer, a recreational golfer, or even, you know, unless you're, you know, the longest hitter in your club, you're probably better off with a much softer ball than the ball you've probably been playing, which is either a Pro V1 or a TaylorMade T35 or a tour ball. Let's call them a tour ball. You're probably much better off with a much softer ball. So I play the Bridgestone B330X. I haven't got the exact compression numbers on them. I'll try and find out what they are. But in my mind, they're about a 90 to 95 compression, and that really works well for me. But if I went on Bridgestone's website, Bridgestone would say that is for the really, the really low ball speeds, and I would be at the higher end of what's on their website. So it all gets a bit wrapped up in this sort of madness, and hopefully what we can do is do really meaningful testing. We've used the max out launch monitor for this particular test just because the simulator launch monitor needs the little black marks on the ball. We just wanted to be able to mark them up with a pen, and the max out launch monitor is the one that we use to calibrate our simulators. Anyone that's using a camera launch monitor indoors without marked up balls, it's just dumbed down. It's like you're making a lot of compromises on the data there, which is most people sadly. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Thanks very much, and that's it for today.